Vanished Beauty by Blastoise fan. Cinnabar Island was my favorite location in all of Kanto. When I started my journey 3 years ago, I'd never heard of the island. I found that I liked the silence, how friendly people were, and the sea waves that gently washed onto the east coast. When I arrived, the first thing that intrigued me was the old abandoned mansion next to the locked gym. I approached the golden plaque next to the door. Engraved on it was Pokémon Mansion, established in... The rest of the engraving had been battered beyond recognition. I wondered what laid inside. Thinking that it might be a new Pokémon or the reason why the gym was locked, I went to open the door. I tried to turn the handle, but to no avail. The door was locked. After some thinking, I decided to walk around the island and come back at night. Assuming that the mansion would be locked, I brought a lockpick from my PC. Navigating the island at night was difficult due to the lack of lighting, however, after some time, I found it. I put my lockpick in the door, and to my surprise, it opened instantly. Maybe the door hadn't been locked at all. I slowly walked in. The place was completely dark. Pikachu used flash, brightening up the surroundings. The house was filled with rodents and sludge. The only thing that I could see clearly was one stairwell going to the upper floor. Intrigued, I began to make my way towards it. On the way there, intense heat started to rush over my body. When I reached the stairwell, I quickly climbed it to go to the first floor. There was nothing there out of the ordinary except a scared burglar who wanted to fight me. After sweeping him, I asked him why it was so hot on the ground floor. Well, I wasn't the only one who was burning down there. I don't know why it's so warm down there. Ask the scientists, they might know. After that, the burglar escaped. Well, guess I have to believe him, as I started to examine the floor. I found a calcium, buried with some stones, but the most important thing I found was 2 books. The first one was found near a set of stairs, and it said, June 7th, 1996. Just completed the construction of the new lab inside the Pokémon Mansion, the old building next to the gym. The first time we entered, though, we felt intense heat coming from under the ground floor. However, when we went into the basement, we found nothing. We'll start working on that tomorrow. After some searching, I found a second book right next to the room where the burglar was. That book wrote, August 15th, 1996. After 2 months of research, we found that the heat we were feeling in the ground floor and to the basement comes from the volcano that is on the foundation of Cinnabar Island. We haven't found the location of the actual volcano yet. So it's a volcano, I said to myself, surprised. Then I realized there was nothing else important on the floor. I took to the stairwell to the 3rd floor, which was a big mess. There were no journals there like on the 1st floor, but there was a scientist sitting by a piece of smooth rock. When he saw me, he walked up to me and said, "My mentor once lived here," with 3 Pokeballs in his hand. After beating him, I asked him more information on the volcano described in the books in the 1st floor. He replied with, "I don't know anything about the volcano except that it exists. That's why I stayed here, to dig up more information about it." There were other scientists here, but they ran away from the island to escape the possible destruction of the island. As I said, I don't know anything about the volcano, but you can find extended information in the basement. Just jump down this hole and climb down the stairs. With that, I thanked him and jumped down the hole. When I reached the basement, I was sure I was close to the volcano because I could feel the volcano's heat radiating from the walls. The basement was filled with random papers, blueprints, and journals. I also found another one of those books I found on the 1st floor. Written on it was, November 23rd, 1996. The volcano is confirmed to be active. We're leaving in a week. We cannot save the citizens of Cinnabar Island. We have left a scientist to stay and continue with the studies about it. I also found another one of those Mewtwo statues with a button under them. I pressed it, and like the 2nd floor, a door opened. Behind the door were 3 rooms. One with some beds, probably where the scientists used to sleep. One with some computers and a ton of blueprints, and one with a rare candy sitting on a table. While I was there, I found a little corridor. At the end of the corridor, I found a small key with a label on it that read, Gym Cinnabar. I assumed this key was for the gym next to the mansion. There was nothing else in the mansion that I'd be able to take a closer look at, so I bid farewell to the scientist and left. Before leaving Cinnabar, though, I went to the gym to try the key, and it worked. It turned out that the gym was a fire-type gym, and the leader was called Blaine. He wasn't that hard to take down, with Blastoise just hydro-pumping everything. When I finished and took the volcano badge, I asked him if he knew something about the volcano. He said, yes, I was working with the scientists before they called me to become the leader of the gym. We were really worried when looking at the study results. At first, we decided to tell the citizens of the volcano, but then we thought they would panic and abandon the island, so we thought that escaping secretly would be better. The scientists did leave, but they left me and another scientist behind. Those blasted arrogants cared only for their own selves. So what, you're gonna leave a town unaware just because a bunch of arrogants escaped? You have to inform the citizens about the volcano or else you'll regret it and it'll haunt you for the rest of your life. After that, I left with the hope that Blaine understood me. After beating the Elite Four and my rival, I decided to pay a little visit to Cinnabar Island to see how everything was doing. On my flight to the island, I saw smoke coming out of the mansion. "What the hell?" I said when I saw it. When I descended, I saw people running in panic, screaming. Then I saw what I was expecting. The Pokémon mansion was engulfed in flames. Before me stood a little girl begging me to take her away from here. I started to ask her why was the mansion on fire. "The volcano, lava, put the mansion on fire. Please take me away from here," she yelled, scared for her life. I was debating to take her or not. I started to feel the ground shaking. The volcano was causing a violent earthquake to start. Not knowing what to do, I said goodbye to the little girl and quickly fled in shock. The fire was still visible even when I reached Pallet Town. In the evening, the guy who was standing in front of Oak's lab came to my house and asked, "Did you see the news?" "No. More news regarding Cinnabar?" I replied. "Yeah, half the island is ruined. A drowning accident has also been reported. If you want to see it, it's on Channel 6. "Okay, thank you, sir." "My pleasure." I quickly opened the TV and tuned into Channel 6. I saw what the man described. Half the island was volcanic ash, however, there was something that he hadn't told me. There was a lava-filled crater where the mansion and gym once stood. As for the drowning accident, the girl that was begging me to save her was drowned some minutes later, as she couldn't swim. I couldn't bear watching the rest. I closed the TV and went to sleep. That night, I had a horrible dream. In the dream, I was walking along a dark path. Screams of agony came from the burning force that surrounded me. When I finally reached the end of the path, I saw the little girl who was begging me to take her, being on her knees, playing with a small wooden plank. I began to approach her. When I was a few feet away, she noticed me and said, "Why didn't you save us?" Surprised, I said, I was confused. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want you to die. Please forgive me." The girl responded, "Things so serious cannot be forgiven. What's your excuse for letting a town die? The only thing you care about is yourself," she said while sobbing violently. "Wait, let me explain. I didn't have enough space for 2 people, and Pidgeot had almost fainted by the time I reached the island. The Pokémon could not take anybody except me. Please, you have to... Red, or should I say, the champion, leave!" After that loud scream, I woke up only to find myself on the floor of my bedroom, feeling sick with guilt. The dreams continued to haunt me for 2 more weeks. I couldn't take it anymore. I decided to leave Kanto, so I packed up, said goodbye to Mom, Blue, and Professor Oak, and boarded the SS Anne to the Johto region, the closest region to Kanto. There, I would never think of that tragic incident again. I am now on Mount Silver, nearly 10 miles far from Viridian City. Today, I was playing with my Charizard. A boy in a red cap approached me, wanting to battle. I had nothing to say, so I silently agreed. The battle started. After 7 minutes, the battle was over. I had lost. Before the boy started to climb down the mountain, I ran up to him and asked, "I just want to ask you one thing. How is Cinnabar Island?" I said quietly, thinking that he must have traveled to Kanto. He responded, "The beauty called Cinnabar Island has vanished." That was Vanished Beauty. Final thoughts? You know when you read a story that has such massive plot holes that is all you can think about? This story had 3 major plot points that really hurt it, with each plot point hurting it progressively more. I'm gonna go into detail on all 3, so authors listening, please learn from this. When the protagonist battles the scared burglar in the start of the story, the line "after sweeping him" crops up. This is a pretty bad breaking of the 4th wall, as the term sweeping when referring to beating someone's team with just one Pokemon is never used in the Pokemon universe. It's just a term that players use in the video game. The second plot point that hurt it, the plot point of a girl who was not saved, was only put in so that less than a paragraph later she could drown to make Red feel bad. That was really lazy. Those 2, though, are nothing compared to the last point that hurt it. There's a massive plot hole around the halfway point of this story. Not only does Blaine tell Red about the volcano for absolutely no reason, even though he said that they decided not to tell anyone, but he himself has never left Cinnabar. This means there are two possibilities. Either no one can leave Cinnabar for some baffling reason like boats don't come to Cinnabar, something that we know can't be true, or he can leave and is just so mind-bogglingly stupid that he doesn't realize that his own research says that the island will explode and it'll kill him. He does not understand that it will kill him. Keep in mind that the whole reason they didn't tell the population of Cinnabar Island is so that they won't abandon the island. That's like saying, I refuse to tell the students of a school that the school is on fire, because if I do, they might leave the school. Of course they fucking will. That's what you want them to do. There is no reason for them to stay and die. Why the hell would scientists want people to stay on the island? And why the hell would Blaine not tell anyone for all these years, yet randomly tell some trainer who beats him? I've got nothing else to really say about this story. Everything after the plot point was just really cliched, with an insanely shoehorned in way to get Red to Mount Silver, with a completely unrealistic and poorly written line for Gold to end it on. The beauty called Cinnabar Island has vanished. Who the fuck would say that when asked how Cinnabar Island is doing? That's it for this creepypasta. Tune in again next Saturday when we tackle yet another story made and sent in by the fans with My Pansage. If you want to write your own story, help peer edit a story, or even just read the stories early, check out the description where you'll find a link to the creepypasta section of my forum. You'll also find a link to the playlist of every creepypasta reading I've done. If you're interested in keeping up with me on my blog posts, join the Facebook fan page linked below, and if you want to support me and what I do, check out the Patreon page in the description. Remember that if you want your story to be read on the show, you must stay active on your post on the forum, as well as read the forum rules. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, sweet dreams.